got one that can see.
Now, in some other news, many of you may have noticed a sort of dirty substance on your car last night. This is due to a weather phenomenon known as mud rain. Fielded
a lot of questions from viewers and even some people here at Wood TV asking, what is with the mud on my car tonight?
Our dust storms and rainstorms, they seem like common events for us. However, when the two are combined, it creates a very rare weather phenomenon here in the desert called mud rain. ABC 15 meteorologist Allison Miller talked to one of the climatologists here in the valley who witnessed it firsthand.
Operation Large Area Coverage, Target, St. Louis, Missouri. It was supposedly an experiment to test how chemical and biological weapons would dispense over a large area. During the aftermath of World War II, the United States was doing many different things to build up its defenses, to prepare for potential attacks, and to see how chemicals and biological weapons would dispense if one was ever detonated. At the time, what was used by the U.S. Army Chemical Corps was not thought to be harmful. Operation LAC took place in many areas of the United States, but in St. Louis, things took an even darker turn. The substance in question is zinc cadmium sulfide, a chemical of great controversy, not only because of its use for experiments, but also due to the decades of denial by the American government that refused to acknowledge its use. There are many concerns about the government poisoning of St. Louis, Missouri. What the Black community experienced during this time took things to a harsher level filled with lies, cover-ups, and outright abuse. During the 1950s and 60s, the U.S. Army dusted chosen American cities from coast to coast with a fine powder of fluorescent, potentially toxic chemicals. And now scientists are saying that the powder used in St. Louis may have contained radioactive material. The scientists involved used cadmium sulfide because it is similar in size to germs. Cadmium sulfide is a potentially dangerous chemical. It is toxic in large doses and is known to cause lung cancer and to damage the liver, kidneys, and bones. As part of Operation LAC, the Army mixed radioactive particles with the zinc cadmium sulfide and spread it throughout a poor, mostly black neighborhood in St. Louis. It was believed that poor people were less likely to object to strange happenings in their neighborhood, and if they did, the police would be there to control them. Zinc cadmium sulfide was reportedly chosen by the Army for its ease in detection under ultraviolet light. The Army spread zinc cadmium sulfide in St. Louis with motorized blowers perched atop low-income housing buildings, claiming at the time that the machines were part of a test for smoke screens that could guard against aerial observation by Russians. The Army put chemical sprayers on buildings, like schools and public housing projects, and mounted them in station wagons for mobile use. Despite the extent of the experiment, local politicians were not notified about the content of the testing. The greatest concentration of spraying in St. Louis was at the Pruitt-Igoe Public Housing Complex, which was home to 10,000 low-income black residents. 70% of those residents were children under the age of 12. None of the residents, nor the authorities of St. Louis, nor those of Missouri, nor the health authorities, nor the Congress were notified of the test. Army records indicate that some of the substance traveled upwards of 40 miles carried by prevailing winds. Planes were dropping chemicals to watch disbursement patterns. Many black residents who lived through this time would watch as U.S. government officials would go on top of the Pruitt-Igoe housing project and dump a mystery mist off the roof. There were also trucks driving around mostly black neighborhoods, spreading chemicals for the experiment. Survivors say that they would watch as personnel in radioactive protective gear come into their communities and spread the chemicals among the population.
I am the chosen one.
propaganda.
We'll talk about a fish story. And they're buying it.
One day, Jesus is coming. You may be at church. You may be at work. You may be asleep. God grant that you will be ready when he makes his personal appearance. My God, what if his appearance occurs on a Sunday morning? My prophetic word to you this morning